Welcome to Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark, presented by the Texas Lottery.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark, coming your way here from Pluckers, the West Campus location here in Austin, and presented by the Texas Lottery. My name is Craig Way. Glad to have you with us, and glad to be talking about a victory and getting ready to open conference play. And that old coaching thing about when guys perform well enough on the field and get a win, and then they come back to the practice field, it makes coaching them a little bit easier, right? They're a little more like sponges.
Well, you hope. I didn't want to leave anything to chance, so we went right back to coaching them hard, and we had plenty to work on coming out of that game. So I was happy for the team just to respond the way that they did. Clearly that was an intense week of practice last week to get right, and we saw the results of the hard work that we put in, and so how can we recreate that this week? And I think that's been the mindset from the coaching staff, the players, everybody involved in the work that we're putting in so far.
To the casual fan, they look and they see it's a 58-0 win over Rice, and wow, it's a shutout, and they put a lot of points on the board, and they ran for over 400 yards. I mean, how much more could there be to fix? But coaches always see where the areas of improvement are. I know that you and your staff dive into that. So when you do that, and when you present it to your guys, how does the presentation go with, hey, this all looked good in this and this and this, however?
Well, I think the however part, when you present it the right way, they respect that. Because ultimately they all want to play really good. They all want to get better. And if you don't, then that's a problem too. So I think our team really understands, man, my coaches are caring enough to say, hey, yeah, it was a good win, but we can even get better, and you can even get better, and here's how you can get better. It's one thing just to tell them they're doing something wrong, but it's another if you have an answer for them and how you're going to get them better. I think that's when there's a real level of appreciation for my coaches care about the work that I'm doing and how I can be the best player that I can be.
Does all of that go back to the original buy-in that you've talked about? The reason why I ask this, and I know you've mentioned how many of the guys really got right into it and right about it. We had an opportunity on the post-game the other day to visit with Jacoby Jones and to visit with Ovie Agofu. Now, these are two completely different cases of a guy transferring from Notre Dame as Ovie is, and then, of course, a veteran, a senior in Jacoby. And I asked them about something you'd mentioned on this program about guys who buy in immediately. And I said to Ovie, how readily did that come to you coming in from out of town and getting here later than some others and not understand? And I put the same question to Jacoby, and they had obviously two related answers from different perspectives. And Ovie said, I had to get to know everybody. They had to get to know me, but there was a lot of mutual respect. And Jacoby said, we just knew it was in Sark we trust. He said, we have a choice. We didn't have a choice. If we want to be part of this, we had to put it all in there. And is that what you've seen develop as well as the ones who bought it right from the start?
I think so. And I think, like I was saying early on, I touched on with the team, it was probably going to be when I first got on board about 80-20, right? I mean, there's a natural buy-in when you first come in. 80% of the guys were going to be on board, and there was going to be 20% that were either uncertain or not on board. And then the task at hand at that point was not just from the coach's perspective, but from the players, to get that 20% down to 10, that 10 down to 5, and that 5 down to less than 1%. And that's kind of the journey that we've been on. And when guys like a Jacoby Jones kind of turn the corner and get it, or a new guy comes in like an Ovie and they buy in and get it, then that's inspiring to a younger player to say, wait a minute, they've bought into it, they're having success, they're going about it the right way. I kind of want to be like that, so let me buy in even more than I am. And those are two great examples. I love both those kids, and you mentioned it, that two different journeys to get to the University of Texas and where they're at in their career and their stage now. Both frontline players for us, both playing well, both playing hard, and both really have bought in. I try to meet with our players as much as I can individually, right, to try to really develop that connection with them. And that from a defenser's perspective, I try even harder because I'm with the offense, a lot of the time. And I probably had more one-on-one meetings with Jacoby Jones than any player on the defense. And I've really developed a cool relationship with him and one where I really feel like he can trust me, and I can trust him. And that's the sign of when your team is getting there, when you can develop that trust. And so I really appreciate those relationships, and I appreciate their comments, because in the end, that's what it takes to be a team. And as I mentioned from the very beginning, teams win championships, not a group of good football playing individuals. Teams do, and I think that's a really cool sign.
In the case of Jacoby, and I know this is a different answer for different guys, but in his case, like you said, you've had as many meetings with him as just about anybody else. How much of that, at least from the start, and as it progressed through the spring and in the summer to this point, how much of it was instructional, and how much of it was, I don't know if inspirational is the proper phraseology, but at least in terms of the more esoteric side of things, where you're talking to him more about what's expected of him as a leader and a teammate, that sort of thing?
I would probably say it would be about 25% instructional. PK is his position coach. PK is his defensive coordinator. They talk more of the fundamental technique of the game. I've mentioned to him about effort and things like that, especially early on, that there's a brand of football we're going to play here, and that effort and that style in which that we do it is paramount. So I was trying to point that out to him early. But the other side of it was more about, just living life and how to live life in a way that I think can be successful for him. A lot of it was just going through my own path and my own journey through life. And I share that a lot with our players, and how I've come out the back end and where I am now in my own life. And at that point, then it's like, wow, this guy just really dropped his guard with me one-on-one. And when he becomes transparent with us, it's a lot easier for them to become transparent with me. And then that's when the communication piece really kicks in. That's when we can really be leaders of men. That's when we can start to show them a way to live and a way to go about their business, not only on the football field, in the classroom, and in life. And he's a great example of that.
Well, and he's also, at least in terms of the Texas high school football perspective, an outlier, because he's from St. Louis. So it's a different thing with him, isn't it?
For sure it is. And he's a JC transfer.
Yep.
And there's all those things that add up. But I really appreciate him. He plays the game the right way. Ovi plays the game the right way. I mean, those guys are models of how we want to play and the effort that they play with.
You mentioned your own personal journey. It's been well documented. You've talked about it. You've been asked about it. Did you have a lot of conversations with your players about it, both as a group and individually?
Oh yeah. Even when I first got hired, I'm a pretty cut to the chase kind of guy. I mean, I get right to it. And the last thing I wanted with our players was to wonder. I try to minimize the wondering, the what ifs, the whatever that could be. So I like to put a lot of things on the table. I did that collectively. I did a lot of that individually, and I still do, because I think that I've got a lot of life experiences that can pertain to what young people on college campuses and young football players deal with, whether it's personally or family oriented or whatever that is, that I can lean on and share with them and offer some guidance that hopefully leads them in a path for success. And that's really what I try to do. And so if I can, again, be transparent with them, drop my guard, put my guard down, and be opening and be honest, it sure, when you're 18 to 22-year-old male, that's a hard thing to do, right? And when they can drop their guard and then they see where I'm coming from with it, and then they start to see some of the benefits of some of the ways we try to present things to them, I think they're very appreciative.
Is one of the more challenges of being leaders of men for coaches to be able to get guys to open up a little more, to be a little bit more personal when it might benefit them, for them to tell you a little bit about what they're going through, the internal struggle, not necessarily just about what they're trying to do, what you as a coach are trying to get out of them as a player?
Well, I think that's, without question, I think the old adage of coaching was, that's my coach. I don't want to ever appear weak. I don't want to ever appear soft. I need to be tough. I need to suck it up, right? Those are the old adages. But I think in this day and age and we're seeing it all the time with mental health and what's going on in sports, I think we really try to tap into that side of them. Because if a guy's dealing with things off the field, that could really be inhibiting him from being the best player that he can be. That ultimately, that's the goal, right? They want to be the best player that they can be. So if we can tap into that side of it and show some guidance, offer some help, whatever that looks like, and there's a lot of avenues we can go and that we do go with that. The end result is they feel better, I think, inside personally, but then they also start to see the results of their play physically on the football field, and I think that's when they are like, okay, this is a really positive. And then what comes out of it, I think, too, is their peers start to see someone different. They start to see a different personality. They start to see a different player, a different approach to the work that they're doing, and they start to wonder, well, how did that happen for him? Maybe that's something that can work for me. And so it has been really gratifying on that front, just in about the short time that we've been here, to see the benefits of the work that we're doing that way.
I know you can't put a date on it, a demarcation point, but at what point did you think that started the change in college football, where coaches became a little more in terms of I don't want to say the father confessor, but certainly ones that players felt a little more comfortable being able to talk about such things with, as opposed to the old school approach where he's the coach and I'm the player and I walk off the practice field, I go my direction and he goes his direction. Was there a point where you started to see that dynamic change?
Well, I really believe the best coaches historically have always had that aspect to them. When you really read about them or you listen to interviews about them and the ex-players talk about the impact that the coaches had on their lives, I think a lot of times they were that, right? But they maybe didn't get the credit for it because the style of coaching on the field was very different too, and that was all anybody ever saw. I'll reference him now in Nick Saban, in my time with him.
Because there's a lot of people that think he is about as old school and hard line and all that sort of stuff as you get.
So when you watch the press conferences or the sideline antics or whatever they are, you think, man, that guy must just be, hell to play for, hell to work with. When in reality, I think when you're there with him, you start to appreciate the compassion he has as a human being, for his own players, for his own coaches, and his whatever his approach is, his personality is his personality. But that doesn't mean that he's not aware and compassionate of the people that he's associated with. On the flip side, Pete Carroll, I think you see exactly what he is. And those are two guys that I work with, great mentors of mine, that both of them had that quality about them. And I go back to who I played for in Lavelle Edwards. I had more talks with him in his office about me personally than I ever did about the X's and O's or about the game plan and things of that nature. So all those kinds of things kind of stick with you, some more than others, and then they build over time. And you just realize the impact we have on them in the short term as a player and as a person, but then the long term, right? The kind of father, the kind of husbands they become, the kind of, just positive citizens in society that they become. And then all of a sudden they start to talk about, man, I really appreciated Coach Sark or Coach Saban or Coach Carroll or Coach Edwards for this, for that, for this. And so, we have to be aware of that in some of even our subtle comments, because they hold on to a lot of the things that we say to them.
All right, we've got a lot more to come here on Longhorn Weekly. They want to remind you to register free at TexasSports.com/Texas Farm Bureau. Your chance to win tickets to home games all season and to be entered to win a grand prize trip for two to the Longhorns bowl game, courtesy of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. That's TexasSports.com/Texas Farm Bureau. Good luck. More coming up here with Coach Sark, here from Plucker's West Campus location in Austin, presented by the Texas Lottery, seen by those of you watching on the Longhorn Network and heard all across Texas on the Longhorn Radio Network from Learfield.
Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark is presented by the Texas Lottery, celebrating 30 years of winning. Play today. And in part by Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird. You are watching Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark, presented by the Texas Lottery.
We welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly, presented by the Texas Lottery, here at Plucker's West Campus location with Coach Sark. We've got a lot of questions. I'm going to jump right into these with some other things we'll do as well. First question is from Jacob back there in the back. Jacob Stopper, who's asking, wants to know, and this is kind of a general thing along the lines of what we're talking about, how your adjustment to the city of Austin and the UT fans have gone for you.
I love it, Jacob, by the way. When I first got here, obviously it was in COVID, right? And I was actually staying right on campus at the AT&T Conference Center. And then the storm hit, and I'm like, what the heck? I had no idea that this weather could be like this in Austin. But then, we kind of finally got settled into our house. We got around the neighborhood. Campus started to open up a little bit out of the pandemic, and then the season came. And so my life went from really getting around. We made it a point, L'Oreal and I made it a point every Friday night to go eat somewhere different in town. So for the first few months here, I've eaten everywhere. So if you need somewhere to go eat, I got them all.
So you were doing barbecue and steak and Tex-Mex and about everything, right?
I did it all. But now that the season started, I don't see anything. Somebody was asking me about that, living here or what have you been doing in season? I say I literally go from home to work every day, except Wednesday night I go to Pluckers for my radio show. That's all I do. I don't do any. I really don't do anything else. So, but I love the fans. I love DKR. I love the environment. It is so cool to be in there, and it was awesome to see Saturday night that crowd come out. The student section just packed during pregame warm-ups. And we're going to need it again this week. And it's 11 a.m. kick, and so I know I've been challenging everybody to shut it down early Friday night and make sure we're revved up, ready to go at 11 a.m. because we're going to need that environment here Saturday.
And the nice thing about it is, I know some folks were a little hesitant the first week to be able to come out early enough or to stay long enough because of the heat. And then last week, maybe some wanted to get there a little later because of the heat. You're not going to have to really worry about the heat on Saturday morning there with the cooler air moving in. It's going to be in the 70s, I think, in the morning and probably upper 70s around game time. All that kind of stuff. No,
it should be great. We've been practicing, obviously, in the morning all year. So we got a taste of it here, yesterday. And even today, it was actually a little bit cool. First thing in the morning, and it's going to warm up, which I don't mind that, but I just think it's going to be an awesome day for football Saturday, and it's a huge home field advantage, and we need it, and we're looking forward to it. We got to make sure we're putting a product out there that is exciting. So hopefully we start fast. So if we start fast, you got to make sure you're there to get us fired up.
Now we talked a little bit about this last week. Your guys coming to the stadium dressed to the nines. They just said they really did, cut a nice fashion look in those suits and outfits that they had. Are they doing that at 9 o'clock in the morning Saturday when they walk into the stadium?
Oh yeah. We got a business meeting to go attend to,
success,
so we got to get ready to go.
Okay, all right. We have another question from another Jacob, and is wanting to know. It's two questions. I'm not sure which is more difficult to answer. First question is Reggie Bush or Bijan Robinson. Second question is, how many pieces of gum would you say Pete Carroll would go through during a game?
I like the second question better than the first one.
Yeah, it's a little early to tell that about making those comparisons yet with Bijan, but he's off to a great start.
He is off to a great start, man. What a fantastic player. It's just week in and week out, you see the complete player that he is, whether it's the receiving skills, whether it's the power running game, whether it's the stiff arm, whether it's the speed in the open field, whether it's the short area, one-cut ability. He did it again Saturday. Literally in the hole as the linebacker inside the 5-yard line, and I don't think the guy got him if it was flag football, and he walks in the end zone. So he has all of that. Obviously, Reggie was a spectacular player, so hopefully we can continue to keep talking about those two guys in the same breath. Pete Carroll, the Hubba Bubba was rolling, and it was rolling every day in practice and all game long. So I have no idea what that total number would be.
But it would be it'd be multiple, like a lot, like maybe 10 pieces a game.
I would imagine.
More than that.
Oh yeah, I would imagine easy. Because the thing about that gum, the taste runs out quick. You got to kind of.
Right.
Keep it going.
Yeah, okay. All right, we've got a lot more to get to here at Pluckers. Hey, want to remind you to come support the Longhorns on Texas OU weekend, starting Friday, October 8th, at the 33rd annual Get Teed Off at OU Golf Tournament, to the Bash Before the Clash, and the tailgate at the Fairgrounds. Round up your Longhorn friends. Don't miss out. Go to DallasTexasExes.org for more information. Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark here at Pluckers, the West Campus location in Austin, presented by the Texas Lottery, continues in a moment. on 3rd and goal from the left hash mark of the right south 6-yard line. Shifting in motion, Moore, handoff, Robinson up the middle, fights off a tackle, 2 to the 1 to the goal line. Touchdown, Texas! Hard, tough running by Bijan Robinson, refused to be brought down, and he takes it across as the Longhorns strike first. Shotgun snap, Thompson, hands, Robinson, big hole left side. Bijan to the 50, 45, one man to beat, and he will shake it. Forget about it. Say goodnight to it. Into the end zone, Bijan Robinson takes it 62 yards for the touchdown. We welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly from here at Pluckers, the West Campus location here in Austin. Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark. It was Bijan Robinson. We were just talking about him, the 2 touchdown runs. And they were different, not only in their length in terms of how short, but also the way he attacked them, as you pointed out on that first one where the guy couldn't get a hold of him. And then the second one was just one of those classic cuts by him to do the cutback.
It really was. The cutback hit, and then it was the acceleration. And that's what I've been talking about his game, that very few people – runners can make that cut and get to top speed so quickly like he did. That part is so unique. And then just the open field speed that he had, and then just kind of weaving his way to the end zone. He's playing well, and he had another nice game Saturday.
Your quarterback's had a nice game Saturday. Obviously, Casey, in his first opportunity to start, was pretty philosophical about it during the week and said, look, I'm prepared for it. And folks got a chance to learn how much time he actually spends with video and the hours he puts in, just like everybody else. But he looked very much in command the way you wanted, I would imagine, as well as Hudson coming in later.
Yeah, they really did. Two things jumped out for me with Casey in the game. You know, the first one was, I think it's the second drive of the game. You know, we give up a little penetration, and he kind of holds the ball for a second. Ball gets tipped into the air, interception. And sometimes you find out more about a player after a negative play than you do after the positive plays. I didn't think Casey blinked. I thought that he came right back, was really efficient the next drive, played really good football. And then the second thing was the drive right at the end of the half, to manage that time, to get us down there. We were kind of on the ball a little bit more. We'd end up not using any timeouts, but we were really trying to reenact what a 2-minute would be like, and I thought he managed that really, really well as well. And then the third one, obviously, we have the third down conversion. We have a holding penalty. We get backed up to 3rd and 17, and he throws a strike on 3rd and 17 out of our own end zone for a first down to extend the drive that ultimately resulted in a touchdown.
Yeah, the other thing, and we talked about it in the post game because I visited with him and Xavier Worthy about it, how they hadn't really worked per se on that back shoulder throw, but they talked about it and visualized it. It's not like it had been repped an awful lot in practice.
No, I mean, like I said, we try to get it all in. It's tough to get every guy doing every little thing along the way, but I think that's just a sign of 2 good football players that are prepared, they're focused, and they made the play. I mean, Casey with an accurate throw and X with a really nice adjustment on the ball.
Question from right here from Jason and Alicia and Christian, who asked that while the most novice football fan can tell that Texas won convincingly last Saturday, did you also see a victory in the sense of overall improvements in the team? Because you said we've got to get better coming out of the Arkansas game. I mean, that was an obvious thing that everybody felt. And we kind of touched on it briefly at the top of the program. In a 58-0 win, it might not be that obvious to the casual fan, or as Jason points out, the most novice of fans. But did you see the improvement, even though there's more improvement you want them to make coming out of the game?
Yeah, I think a couple things jumped out to me from an improvement standpoint. I thought we played more cohesive up front on the offensive line. We're not perfect yet. We're still a work in progress. But we were more cohesive. Guys were more on the same page collectively together. And I think you saw that just kind of in the run game, and now you're creating those runs. I think on the second side of that, defensively, we were much more sound. You did not see these gaping holes to run through. I think there was gap integrity defensively. I thought we managed our coverage the right way. And then I know it doesn't always show up because people look at sacks for pressuring the quarterback, but we put a lot of pressure on the quarterback at Rice. Now, we got him off the spot. He dropped his eyes. He may have scrambled for a few yards or errant with the throw, but we affected the quarterback much better than we did the week before. And not to take anything away from Arkansas, but those were things that we just didn't execute well the week before. So those are a few things that were just more positive to me.
I've heard this mentioned a lot with regard to defensive pressure on a quarterback that it needs to be, should be measured in more than just sacks or even hurries or pressures, because those numbers are kept as well. But as you said, affecting the quarterback, whether he has to roll out, whether he makes an errant throw, whether he throws just a split second before he wants to, and so the pass is a little bit off, or it gives your defensive back time to make a play on the ball. I mean, those are important elements that you guys are breaking down on tape and looking at. Right?
Without a doubt. And then pushing the pocket. You know, every quarterback likes that nice, clean pocket, right, to throw in. But we have to affect the pocket not only externally but internally. And that, again, it's not fun throwing even when it's your own guy right in your face and you can't step into it. So if we can knock the center back, knock the guard back, collapse that pocket, that's uncomfortable to a quarterback. So as much as we can affect them, yeah, we all love sacks and all those kinds of things. But if we can affect errant throws that could relate to turnovers or scrambles, or even, like you said, getting the ball out of his hand early, maybe when the receiver's not prepared for the ball, those are all really positive plays for us.
And all leads to getting the defense off the field.
That's the key to the drill.
Yeah.
It's hard to score when we don't have the ball. So we got to get the ball back, and then we have to possess the ball, whether it's our own third down execution and then ultimately red zone execution to score.
All right, more coming up with Coach Sark from here at Pluckers, the West Campus. Location here in Austin on Longhorn Weekly, here on the Longhorn Network and the Longhorn Radio Network from Learfield.
Hey, Coach, what does a typical game week look like for you?
We want to thank the team at Academy Sports and Outdoors for that question. It's a little bit broad-based, but a game week, to take fans through the game week from Monday or Sunday all the way up to Saturday and then back through.
Yeah, so our Sundays, we need to have our tape graded as a staff by noon. So I try to give the guys a chance in the morning, whether if they want to go to church or spend a little family time before we get going at noon. I meet with the offense for an hour, the defense for an hour, then we do special teams, then we have a full staff meeting, and then we shift gears to the opponent. And then we start on the opponent really that late Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. And then Monday.
And the guys are off.
The guys are off Sunday. Monday morning we start back up. So we'll watch the tape with them. We kind of give out our player awards. Then we shift gears to the next opponent. So we have a light practice Sunday nights, Tuesday nights. Those are pretty good grinder nights for me. Those are some nice long days. But because we're a morning practice team, and so you're looking at minimum probably close to about 18-hour days. That's about kind of how it goes. And then that starts to taper off Wednesday night, much lighter Thursday night. But what I do now in season Thursday nights is I try to go recruiting. So I'll try to get to a high school game or two on Thursday nights. And then Friday we get them up for a walkthrough. And then I try to do a lot of my administrative stuff Friday afternoon. We bring the players back at 5 for a team meeting, and then we head to the hotel. And depending on kickoff time, we have meetings that night. Or if it's a night game, I'll take them to the movies, and we'll do our meeting Saturday morning. And then we get up and pregame meal, and let's get after it.
And it's a little bit different on the road, obviously, when you have a travel day on Friday.
Yeah, depending on how far long the flight is and where the hotel is, that day on Friday with the players we may bring them back at 1, at 2, depending on when it is it's time to leave.
Do you have a favorite? Somebody may have already submitted this. I don't know. A favorite genre or style of movie that you like to go to with the guys?
I don't know. They keep telling me I'm 3 for 3. We've seen 3 movies now together. They say I'm 3 for 3.
Really?
I picked the movie. I will say that, Craig. This is not. At that point, I'm picking the movie because I want to make sure.
So what are the 3?
What have we seen? This is bad. This is really bad.
Action, adventure, comedy?
Usually some sort of action adventure. We, Jiminy Christmas. There's a new Marvel movie.
Okay.
I can't think of the name of it. We watched that last week. Players loved it.
Okay.
I mean, they thought this was the greatest movie they've ever seen, so that was great. The week before, I want to say the movie was 12 Strong.
Okay.
And it was about the 12 Navy SEALs that got sent post 9/11 to Afghanistan. So I think the guys really appreciated kind of that, tying that into 9/11, and then just about teamwork. And I don't know if you remember that movie that they have to end up having to ride these horses.
Yep.
Only one guy had ever ridden a horse before. And it was like, well, we got a task, we got a mission, we got to execute it, right? And so you never know the circumstances that you get into. And quite frankly, I can't even remember what we saw in training camp. But so I'm 3 for 3 so far. I don't know if we're ever having another night game, so I don't know if that's an issue for us. I feel like we're kicking off at 11 a.m. all year, so
yeah,
we'll see.
It may be for a while to come. Remember, fans, Academy Sports and Outdoors is the official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the Big 12 Conference. This dovetails into Jean's question. Who wrote it so creatively on the napkin here? Where she wanted to know what time the team arrival was on Saturday morning, so folks would know. And I'm told, 8:45-ish?
Yeah, we'll be departing the hotel, I believe, at about 8:25. And so I would imagine by the time we get there, it'll be about 8:40, 8:45 Saturday morning.
Okay.
So you got to get your Starbucks and your coffee, whatever it is, and or your whatever other beverages. That we got some students be fired up, so get ourselves ready to go.
Are you a coffee guy?
I am.
Do you like espresso beverages, or are you just black coffee, or
Black coffee.
really?
If I can get just an espresso with nothing in it, I'll take that. Hits quicker.
That it does. Hey, Longhorn fans, luck happens with the Texas Lottery. Congratulations to Carol Moore, who won Longhorn prizes and Texas Lottery scratch tickets. What could happen to you too? Play Texas Lottery today. More of your questions coming up on Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark from here at Pluckers, the West Campus location in Austin, and presented by the Texas Lottery. Continues in a moment.
Third down. Thompson, the design keeper himself. Actually, it's Roshan Johnson breaks free. 45-50. Here's Johnson to the 30. One man to beat to the 20. See goodnight to this one. Roshan Johnson takes it 72 yards to the house. Roshan Johnson took the direct snap, moved outside, and was gone.
Back here on Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark. Rojo off that direct snap going in, and somebody asked me the other day from outside this area and said, "Well, why does Rojo take the direct snap?" I said, "Well, to begin with, the dude was a quarterback, so he knows how to handle the ball coming out of that." And I said, "But he's got that nice burst, and he is powerful going up the sideline for him."
He really is. I mean, we're so lucky to have this kid on our team, and I don't know if anybody could have been more happy for one player than on that run. Our team lit up because they know what he brings every single day. And if there's anybody that holds the entire team accountable to what we do and how we go about it, it's him. Extremely hardworking, complete core member of our special teams. If you watch our special teams run out, you're going to see number 2. I think the respect that he and Bijan have for one another and the work that they put in, he's been playing really good football for us and just another great person. I mean, this guy is a A-plus person, great leader, and a really good football player.
I think one sign of successful teams and programs is when you have some of your key playmakers playing on special teams and they embrace it and they really want to do it, and there's kind of a competition for it. I mean, it sounds like you've already seen that from your guys early on.
Really have. I mean, when you look around at our special teams unit, I mean, you see Anthony Cook, you see DeMarvion Overshone, you see Josh Thompson, Deshaun Jameson, you see Roshan. And a lot of these guys are contributing, and you see even Keelan Robinson, who blocked the punt. Keelan's our third back, very talented, maybe not getting all the carries he could maybe get somewhere else, but he can find a way to contribute, and he's doing it on special teams and has an impact.
Here's a question from Cross, who wanted to know with regard to atmosphere, because you talked about it. You said we're going to need a good environment. Sometimes in the mornings, folks may be a little late to the party philosophically as well as physically being there. But when that happens, when you're in a place, home or road, if you're on the road and you're in an environment that's kind of quiet, what do you do? What do your guys do to create their own juice?
Well, I think it has to be internal, right? We always say that the fire has to burn from within, and I think that's the part of the coaching staff, that's a part of the leadership on the team. And then you've got those few guys on the team that are the spark plugs, and they know who they are, and you can almost go to them and say, hey, let's juice it up here a little bit, and let's get it going, because there's no different than some days at practice, right? You just don't feel, you can tell there's just not quite that same intensity that we want, and you need certain guys or certain coaches to kind of spark that flame, that fire from within, and then it just starts to permeate and spread, and we get going.
Here's a question from Riley, who wanted to know, and you spoke of going out on Thursday night, a chance to see, to do a little recruiting and to watch some games. And when you bring in and sign recruits to Texas, and even when you're just evaluating, how do you separate the student-athlete's talent from whatever ego might be there, and what the parents or the coaches might have in terms of their opinion and his own self-opinion of his value to help him see the reality of the situation?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, we want players that want to be at the University of Texas. And, as much as we have a tremendous product to sell, right? This university is tremendous. The history and tradition of the football program, all in the academics, the city of Austin, there's so much to sell. At the end of the day, we're not begging anybody to come. They need to want to be here. And then when they want to be here, then they have to recognize they're going to earn what they get. Nothing is granted, nothing is free. You earn that opportunity. You're going to get plenty of opportunities to show us and to earn it, but at the end of the day, you're going to earn what you get in this program. And we're pretty clear about that, and we're pretty clear about that up front. We do point out opportunities that are there for them when they get here, but the reality of it is we try to, the egos and the stars and all those things get left at signing day, right? Just because you're a 4-star or 5-star does not grant you more playing time, does not grant you success on the football field, does not grant you a degree, does not grant you good grades. All that stuff is over on signing day. Now you have to recreate yourself of what you want to be. And so we're always constantly trying to find the guys that have the internal drive, guys that have a sense of humility, that they still have something to prove, and they're trying to overachieve whatever your level is supposed to be. But I think that's a dangerous slope when you start making promises to people about playing time or jersey numbers. That's a slippery slope, because now all of a sudden you're dealing with somebody who may be entitled, and an entitled person, that's not good. We want people that want to earn what they get.
Where are you philosophically on the 4-star or 5-star who has the big production on signing day, the hats, the smoke show, whatever, all of those guys? Are you okay with all that? You like all that? Or?
I'm fine with all that. Hey, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I think as much of it is for the kids, I think sometimes it's for the parents and the family or the high schools or whomever. But, like I said, that's a great moment. But, it's like a wedding day. The wedding is always great. How's the marriage 3, 4, 5 months down the road, right? That's the key to the drill here. The signing day is great. But how is it now that you're there, you're on campus, you're waking up at 6 a.m., you're going to workouts, you've got school, you're learning a new offense, you've got a position coach, you've got all these things. How is it then? And so you got to make sure, I always tell these guys all the time, ultimately you have to go to where you really want to go, because wherever you go, adversity is going to strike. And you have to be willing to get up the next day and go back to work, even if the day before wasn't a great day. And those guys that can do that, ultimately over time, are the ones that are most successful.
All right, coming up, we'll take a look at this week's opponent, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, with Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark from Pluckers. The West Campus location here in Austin, presented by the Texas Lottery, continues on the Longhorn Network and the Longhorn Radio Network from Lear. Back here on Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark from Pluckers, the West Campus location here in Austin, presented by the Texas Lottery. Big 12 Conference opener on Saturday morning against Texas Tech. What's your impressions of what you see from this 3-0 Red Raider team?
Well, you know what I see is that in Coach Wells, I have a lot of respect for him and the work he did at Utah State. And anytime you take over a new program, I think there is that, that little bit of those growing pains of trying to get your culture and get your team to where you want it. And you can see it in year 3. They've kind of put it all together. I think, they've always had the offense. They've always had, the high-flying, scoring a lot of points offense. I think they've put it together defensively. When you look at the roster, you see a pretty fair amount of transfers on this roster, starting with the quarterback to one of the wide receivers to the starting safety to a starting corner. So you got guys that they brought in, took advantage of the transfer portal. They're a veteran football team with a staff now that has been together. I know Coach Wells brought in Sonny Cumbie, who we know from his time at TCU. So they're playing good football. They're playing hard. They're playing fast. They're playing aggressive. The attacking style kind of hasn't left Lubbock. It's still there. So we've got to work cut out for us. This is going to be a great game Saturday.
How about your thoughts on Tyler Shuck, the Oregon transfer at quarterback?
Well, he's a big guy, first of all. That's the first thing that jumps out. You turn out and say, wow, this is a big guy. And then you realize how athletic he is. He pulls the ball down. He runs. He's got a live arm. He has got a slew of receivers to get the ball to. He's got a very good tight end and 2 really good backs that are running the ball well for him. So they do it the right way, but Shuck has been to get that as your transfer quarterback, that's a pretty good deal.
And as you point out, people think of Texas Tech and they think air raid, but they can run the ball. They get Sir Roderick Thompson back. He's been injured for a while. He gets back. Taj Brooks, the kid from Manor, is big. They've got backs who can really carry the ball.
And the key to them, all these backs, they're over 200 pounds. I mean, they're all bigger backs. I mean, 215, 220, 200, 220. So these are big physical backs. These are not scat backs. These are guys that run downhill. They run through arm tackles. And so we've made a huge point since Monday about tackling in this game is going to be a huge component to what we do. We got to own our leverage. We got to get hats to the football, and we got to get these guys on the ground.
On the defensive side of the football, they're holding opponents to very low numbers in terms of, in fact, the rush defense is 5th in the country right now.
Yeah, this is a very good front. I think this is an attacking style defense up front. They play kind of a 3-3-5 defense, with 3 down linemen, 3 backers. The 3 interior defensive linemen and these 2 inside backers are downhill, fit the run playing guys. Schooler, we know that name. Schooler's brother is kind of he kind of can play in and out of the box. He's a very heady player. And then in the back end, they do a good job with secondary support of getting them involved. So they're playing well together. They're very aggressive in nature up front. They do a good job of kind of in their zone coverages on 1st and 2nd down. And then when 3rd down rolls around, they try to get off the field. They try to pressure the quarterback. They play man-to-man. They try to get off the field.
I won't swear to this, but I want to say, and I could be wrong, that last year there was at least one play out in Lubbock when Brendan was still playing on offense that he caught a pass and his brother tackled him. I can't remember if that happened for sure, but it seems to me like I remember that. So what does Brendan say about his brother?
Good player. Heady player, smart, savvy, tough. He's really instinctual. One thing that jumps out to me, they blitz him. They like to bring him off the edge. If he knows he's not going to get home, he does a really good job of trying to time his jumps to knock balls down. I mean, that's just an instinctual player, and I think he has a lot of the same attributes that we rave about with Brendan.
All right, coming up, we have a few more comments, and then we'll be back to wrap up Longhorn Weekly with head coach Steve Sarkisian. Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark from Pluckers, the West Campus location here in Austin, presented by the Texas Lottery, continues in a moment.
Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark is presented by the Texas Lottery, celebrating 30 years of winning. Play today. And in part by Pluckers Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Handoff, Keelan Robinson, right side. Burst to speed, 40, 45, midfield. Say goodnight to it. Wow, was that quick. Keelan Robinson, 65 yards in a lightning flash to the end zone.
Well, you talk about a different gear than the other two backs, as good as they are. And Keelan Robinson had a little seam, and he was gone.
Sean Jameson standing back at the Texas 30-yard line. Here comes the cut. It's blocked. This will go into the end zone and out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Racing in to block it, Keelan Robinson coming in like a rocket to block that punt and knocks it right out of the back of the end zone for 2 points.
Back here on Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark. We were talking about Keelan Robinson and his contributions. There are a couple of contributions there, but the old baseball coach at Texas, Cliff Gustafson, who famously quipped that speed ain't ever had a bad day, and he clearly does not have a bad day when he's got his speed working.
No, he really is. I always refer to him, he's a rocket ship, and when he gets the ball in space, you can see what happens. And then obviously the contribution on special teams, I mean, that his ability to come off the edge right there, that is something that had an impact on that game, but it's also going to have an impact on further games, because now once you can pressure the punter the way we were able to do it, hopefully now the holdups, you got to start to hold up a little longer and protect a little longer. And now we've got a couple dynamic punt returners in Deshaun Jameson and Xavier Worthy, more opportunities for them. So, in this day and age of punting the football, everyone loves the spread punt, let's go cover. Well, hopefully we're putting a little stress on you to protect, because we're going to come after you.
We'll look forward to seeing you at the stadium Saturday morning. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. We'll be on the air at 10 a.m. here on the Longhorn Radio Network from Learfield with the pregame show. The Big 12 Conference opener, the Texas Longhorns against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Hope to see you at the stadium bright and early Saturday morning. Welcome in this football team. Get them ready for Big 12 Conference play. For Coach Sark, I'm Craig Way. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week here at Pluckers on Longhorn Weekly.